So I finally finished my book, Here on Earth by um Alice Hoffman. So I'm here to do a review about the book. It was a good book. I should have got my freaking drink. I'm thirsty. Okay, so Gwen is March's daughter, and so there was a statement that was made by the Coopers. The Coopers are Gwen's grandparents. They said um at times when they think so highly of themselves or so well of themselves, they have to deflate their heads every morning, or else they'd sail away on the strength of their own vanity and pride. When I think about this statement, I think about how sometimes we can let our ego get in the way of life, and it's on us to humble ourselves. We have to um, ground ourselves because it's easy to get drifted away, with the wind. It's easy to be strung along, and it's a lot of people that do that. They take your mind to a point where they can pull you um away from everything else that's actually important, you know. Whatever you have going on in a moment, they will pull you away from that. So when they spoke on this, when her grandparents spoke on this, it kind of hit home. Sometimes you can go out there feeling so confident and so good, you can get lost in a moment. And it also depends on what makes you confident. What makes you confident? What, like, reflect on that moment? What's making you confident? Confident. It can be other people, you know. If you allow other people to uplift your spirit more than you do, then they can have that control over you. They can take that um they can plant those seeds in your mind to where you can lose sight of yourself. So it's very important for you to, I feel like I had to burp, always remain grounded in self. Um, but if it has nothing to do with others, then it's more of a protection. It's more of a guard because other people, like I said, other people can have that impact over your mind. And I don't know how they can do this, but it's just like that's what I hate about the world. That's what I hate about people because they have that effect over you. You know, like just like today, I had to actually lay down. Mentally I was drained because it just seemed like every time I looked around, or I have so many problems with people, I have so many issues with people to where I feel like I constantly feel attacked, in ways where I feel like they're pulling me in different directions. They're trying to grab my attention, they're trying to distract me, they're trying to bring me down, they're trying to, you know, push me off of my path. They're mentally draining me. And that's what I like. I was laying down and I just felt so drained, you know. This time, usually I'll feel angry, but this time it's just like, I'm not about to fight with y'all. I'm not about to fight with y'all. And I'm not even, it got to the point where I'm not even about to look out the window. I'm not about to go outside. I'm not about to do nothing because no one cares about what I'm going through. That's just a fact. They don't know, they don't care about what I'm going through. They're going to constantly just keep nitpicking at me, you know? When they do stuff that's just random or they act weird, I'm just like, okay, it's time for me to go in the house. It's time for me to just shut it down, shut it all, turn it all off, you know, be to myself because what's more important is you. You have to protect your peace. That's just what it is. It's like a war zone because that's what people seem like. They seem like it seems like they're fighting for something. They're constantly fighting and fighting and fighting. And it's just like, I ain't got time for this. The fact that you don't care, that's just my, that's my cue to exit. I'm exiting because I'm not about to keep dealing with this. So you have to just, know when to walk away because if you don't, they're going to keep trying you over and over and over again because they don't stop. So when, like I said, when she said that, it hit home, you know, they can pump you up. And that's what I'm saying. You can be so good and you go out there, you feeling good, but just like that, if your guard ain't up, that can get snatched. Um, and don't allow others to boost you up either. Don't allow others to boost you up. And if they do say, they give you compliments and whatnot, say thank you, but don't pay too much mind. Don't let it take over your mind because, again, keep your guard up. And keeping your guard up is remaining humble, always remaining humble. So, Coward is a friend that grew up in the village where everyone is. Um, he drinks. He's known to be filthy. He has past troubles. His past troubles him, and he stays there in the village. Um, and with sitting, dwelling on the memories where he feels that everything has slipped away from him, and he's trying really hard to just retrieve it, but he knows that retrieving this would be like diving into a bottomless pit. That it's like, you know, it's it's a sticky situation. You put um you try too much. If you try too much or you try to dig up, it's just like digging up your past. You keep digging and digging and digging. You don't know what to come up. It's one thing leads to another, one thing leads to another. That thing leads to the next thing. You're constantly digging and it's always going to be, something. You're never going to actually get closure. So it's basically it's, um, and I mean, you really have to want it. So obviously, maybe he didn't want it as bad. He never received closure from that situation. He never received closure from his childhood or his past. So that's why he's kind of stagnant. He's sitting there, drinking it all away. Um, because it's better for him that way to sit there and drink it away. And sometimes that's why people remain stagnant. They remain stagnant because they're wondering too much about the situation, you know. And sometimes when you don't have closure of your childhood, it can give you that, you're just stuck wondering, you know. And rather than being stuck wondering, he rather drinking away, because it wondering can lead you into so many different places. And that's why a lot of people don't get closure, especially from, your childhood. Those memories. It's too much, you know, to take in. So yeah, that's why he's known as the drunk. So then Gwen was stuck. Gwen is March's daughter. She was stuck on retrieving the ownership papers for her horse Tarot from Hank. But Hank has known that. I mean, Hank knows this, so he's stringing her along. And eventually she says, like, he's never gonna give me these papers. He's using this, he's just using this just to keep egging me on, just to keep bringing me back and asking me, I want ownership of my horse. And Hank is just like, no, he already said, like, he eventually told her no. I think before he was telling her that he would, but he's basically playing around with her, like, no, you're not getting your horse. You're not getting ownership papers. And she's aggravated. So this is on her mind. Um, Sister is the dog, the family dog. Gwen wants to visit her father, fetching for a plane ticket, but he doesn't answer the calls. So throughout the rest of the throughout the this story, Gwen was trying to retrieve these papers. I mean, she was trying to get intact. She was trying to get contact with her dad, but I don't know where her dad, you know, he never, I never, he was never in the story, but she's constantly reaching out to him. He never answers the phone or anything, but because Gwen's situation was bad. Um, Hank was actually putting his hands on her, and he didn't. He eventually put his hands on her, but he was scaring her. He was threatening her though throughout the whole time. And Hank is March's boyfriend. So yeah, he was threatening her. She was very scared of her. There was one time March did stand up for her, and Hank didn't, bother with her anymore. I mean, he didn't bother with her with March around. But when March wasn't around, Hank was constantly messing with Gwen, picking with her and making her fear him because he was a drunk as well. So Hollis was a teenager around Gwen's age. They stayed in the same household. Gwen was hungry and mistreated by Hank, and and while she was feeling this way, like there was times where she went to her neighbor's house begging for food, or she wanted to stay with them because she wasn't eating or anything. So she was unwell, but March was so in a daze, like she was blanked out. She was blacked out from reality. And there was times where like I think it was the judge would come around like trying to snap her out of it. Like, you need to wake up. You need to, get back, and, your daughter needs you, you need to snap out of it. He came to her door like, snap out of it, and stuff like that. But March was going through something, and they never spoke on it, but she was just always out of it. But I take it from, because like the beginning of the story is it was just March and Gwen. Remember, they was riding in it was in a car on their way to the town, but she was always, drifting off, um just daydreaming. That's what um that's what the story was given off in the beginning, is she was daydreaming, and she was just, it seemed like she was just more in her mind, rather than in reality. So that's kind of how she was. And then she's also really, really in love with Hank. So that's a link. A love can actually have that impact over you to where you're in a dream state of mind and you're not really paying attention to what's going on because you're so in love. You're so, you know, that Hank has her this way. Um, So because of this, I kind of figure I'm like, yo, well, how? March is very controlling over Hank. Um, so Hollis, um, eventually Hollis was becoming aggressive, and there was this part where there was a remark made that said she can see Hank coming toward them, but that's not what gives her courage. She truly doesn't care if Hollis hurts her. She wants him to because that would only serve to prove her right in her opinion of him. So this was the part, they was kind of trying to figure out if Hank or Hollis was as aggressive as everyone else, well, as Gwen was making them seem. But what gives her courage is knowing, once you know somebody is aggressive, once you know that, your intuition, it's basically like you have that gut feeling, your intuition is telling you this, but you won't actually have you won't get that confirmation or um validation until you see that person, how that person is acting. Um, Basically until you see, the proof is in the pudding, that type of thing. So this will give her courage, and knowing that this is his type of behavior, and going forward, she will know how to deal with it. She knows what to expect, therefore she will know how to handle that situation. um so then at the end of the book, Hank had a dream. Hank had a dream and retrieved closure from his hometown. So in this dream, he mentioned years from now, children in town will talk about the New Year's Day when there was black snow. They'll say the devil reached out and took what belonged to him, basically saying and informing, going forward that they may see this as the end of times because nothing is going right for them. Everything is being snatched and they don't know what to do about it. So they feel like they're under attack. They're under attack. It's a hopeless situation. Children of the future in this town will, you know, take see such an occasion as New Year's Day. And instead of white snow, they see black snow and they're like, oh, things are changing. Using that kind of as a scenario. And they'll say the devil reached out, it's the snow isn't the same as it is, um, something like that in a way. Um, So avoiding that, and then he mentioned avoiding that intersection where the grass still refuses to grow. Actually, no, this isn't the dream. This is just him speaking on, this is his closure um from his child. Basically, this is his closure of his hometown. This isn't the dream, but eventually we're about to get to the dream. So this is the other statement he made. He said avoiding the intersection where the grass still refuses to grow, indicating where there is no change. So he said avoiding the intersection where the grass still refuses to grow. And I'm I'm saying, he's indicating that where there is no change, they disregard that direction. So eventually down the line, where there is no change, they will go in another direction, seeing that things will always be the same. So that's what avoiding the intersection where the grass still refuses to grow. That's what it meant to me. As he knows better, the narrator mentions that on the first day of every year, as hopeless as he feels, he will always make certain to say a prayer for those who he wishes peace, both the dead and the living. Such an uncomforting thought. So he will pray for those who wishes him peace, both the living and the dead. Because, you know, when you're a person that wishes you peace only wishes you for dead. And that energy comes from both the living and the dead, you know. So that's basically what he's saying. And I said it's an uncomforting thought because no one wants to just live that way to where they always have to watch their back, all the time. So then we're going to Hank's dream. Hank had a dream that Hollis passed. Hollis is a teenager that stays around Gwen's age. Hollis passed in a car wreck. The truck burst into flames. Hank feels indebted to Hollis. He gave away all his land, donated the land. March feels she didn't want to leave Hollis. She was with him the during the car incident. Seeing his hands bloody, she was sad and devastated, but seemed at peace as he closed his eyes peacefully. And then she mentioned that how he never trusted humanity. So maybe this was closure for her. Like, okay, so he's peaceful. He has peacefully drifted away. He's okay now because he was never, you know, he always felt this certain way towards humanity. So now this is his peace towards the situation. So she noticed a girl with dark hair. So that was a dream. Um, she notices this dark. Hold on. So in actuality, Hollis in March is fine. Hollis was really weak, laying in a bed. Maybe Hank had a premonition because Hollis was driving in bad condition. So I felt like Hank did have that premonition of Hollis in March, because what had happened was they were coming from a party, and Hank wind up getting angry, like he got really furious, and she never seen him this way. So he got angry and he smashed his hands into the window of the passenger seat of the passenger seat window of the car. He smashed his hand in there and it was bleeding, and it was gushing blood. And then on their way home, he was driving, but there was something bad. I forget what it was, but there was something bad in his the car was in bad condition, as well as he felt weak driving, but he still drove. So I was like, well, maybe Hank had that dream because it was a premonition of what could have possibly happened, but it didn't happen. Um, so then later on, March notices a girl with dark hair standing in a bed of roses. She doesn't hesitate to run, and I felt like that part was very interesting because it kind of brings out what March's character is. If she's not curious and she doesn't hesitate to run, so she's the type of person where she doesn't interfere. She stay in her lane, and whatever bothers her, she quickly just leaves that situation. So I felt like she's more of a friendly person. She's a helpful person, you know, but she doesn't bother with anything that she doesn't understand. No, she ain't curious. So March was traumatized about how heated Hollis has gotten to the point where um has gotten when she seen that he smashed his fist into the glass, and I'm just like, she act like she never seen blood before because this was really actually bothering her. You know, the blood more so because she was seeing that red, and it was just, you know, it was getting to her head a little bit too much. She was remembering the moment, you know, watching as the blood fell to the concrete, and she felt like, you know, she couldn't unsee, she can't unsee what's been seen. And I'm just like, well, maybe she hasn't, you know, seen a lot of blood like that before. I know a lot of people do feel that way, you know, they probably would freak out. So she was madly in love with Hank, and obviously she was always there through thick and thin. So whatever was going on, she wasn't nothing pulling her away from Hank, not even Gwen. So eventually Hank slaps Gwen. He becomes very aggressive with her. You know, he winds up eventually snapping and slapping her. I mean, not Hank, but Hollis did. Hollis slapped her. And she ran away to the Hollises. She ran away to, oh, the coward's house, the one that, you know, the drunk sitting around sitting around moping around because he doesn't have closure from his childhood. She went to his house. She let her horse go, like, because Hollis actually came out with a shotgun, and he was trying to he you know he was going to shoot the horse. So she unlocked the gate, and she was like, "Go, go, 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 you know, get out of here because, you know, this man is this man is about to kill you." So she told her horse to go, and the horse got away. You know, I think he did fire a couple shots, but he didn't get him in time. So the horse ran away, but did the horse wound up going to the coward's house, and that's where Gwen went afterwards, along with her dog sister. So yeah, that's the end of the story. That's what happened. So yeah, March and Gwen split up, and you know, um, because of the situation, she wasn't leaving Hank. So yeah, that's the the book review of Here on Earth by Alice Hoffman.